Thank you for inviting me to present my work today. Uh, my name is Pattarat Phantprasit, affiliate researcher at the Center for Southeast Asian Studies, Kyoto University, Japan. My presentation today is titled For Honor and the King, Lives of Siamese Cadets in the 1900s to 1920s. Overall, it is about how the Siamese Cadet School initiates and develops entrance and educational policies in order to instill a sense of honor and loyalty to the king and the Siamese nation to all cadets who would be commissioned officer in the future. First, I would like to start with the overview of this presentation. Regarding study on the Siamese Cadet School, previously, Sukanya Bamrungsuk investigated the history of Chulalongkorn Royal Military Academy, how cadets were taught and positioned themselves as leaders, and the relationship between the monarchy and the cadet school, which began in 1887 when the school was formed. Based on Sukanya's work, I further investigate policies of the cadet school in selecting applicants, teaching, controlling, and conducting the school events. These practices were all designed to produce loyalty to the king and emphasizing the notion of honor the notion of honor of soldiers. The question of this presentation is how did the Siamese Cadet School produce the idea of loyalty to the king and the concept of an honorable soldier to cadets? This work employs historical methodology and analyzing historical evidence, including the Royal Government Gazette or Rajagijjanubeksa, textbook and instructions of the cadet school, royal speeches, and other relating documents. I have divided the content of this presentation into four parts. It begins with a brief history of the Siamese Cadet School, or later renamed as Chulalongkorn Royal Military Academy. The second section covers admission policy from the 1900s to 1920s. It is to show that the seats were prioritized for royals, noblemen, and military officers' families. The third section focused on educational policies and controlling cadets' behaviors. This process was to inculcate loyalty and knowledge regarding Siamese monarchs and Buddhism into cadets. And the last section is the tie between the monarchy and cadets. The school holds several activities to enhance the relationship between Siamese kings and prospective commissioned army officers. All of these practices were to produce the idea of honor and shape Siamese cadets into the king's men. This is a brief history of the Siamese Cadet School from the late 1880s to 1932. They are the foundation of this work, which is demonstrate the inculcation of honor and loyalty to the king done by the cadet school. I suggest that this process occur concurrently with the development and expansion of the Siamese Cadet School. Beginning in 1887, this slide depicts the development of the Siamese Cadet School. The name was later changed in 1888 to Rongrian Tahan Saramrom. A decade after, in 1897, the school was renamed Rongrian Sonvisha Tahan Bok, combining the cadet school and the school for non-commissioned officer students together. In 1899, Prince Jirapawat was in charge of the school. The prince divided the students into two companies, one for the cadets and another for non-commissioned officer students. The improvement of the cadet school once again occurred in 1906 when Prince Jakapong returned to Siam. This time, the cadet school was enlarged and was divided into two levels, the elementary and the secondary level, due to the increasing number of cadets. When the economic crisis in Siam took place in between 1925 to 1932, the two levels of the schools were merged and the cadet school reduced the number of students. Move to admission policy of the school. Since its formation in 1887, the cadet school had long been reserved for the royals and sons of noblemen and officers, rather than open for commoners. A careful selection of cadets who were soon to be army commanders, undeniably, was a part of an intention of the elite to secure the throne. According to the timeline, you can see that in 1888, the school seats were reserved for the elite. Eligible applicants must be the royal family members, sons of state officers or military officers. In 1898, the school accepted those who were neither member of the royal family nor commissioned officers, and because the number of students were insufficient. However, between 1806 and the 1920s, the school returned to its standpoint. All applicants from the royal family and family of officers were welcome. In 1913, unlike applicants from a humble background who were required to pass the examination first, those who possessed birth privilege were allowed to enter the school freely without the examination. In 1929, when a number of applicants fell into the lowest point, the cadet school adopted its entrance policy again. It changed admission conditions, which was open for whoever graduated from secondary schools, which meant birth status was not counted. This section discusses school entrance examination. Again, this policy was designed to assure all potential candidates were knowledgeable about Siamese kings, the Siamese nation, and Buddhism. Since 1907, ethics, geography, and history were gradually included into the school's entrance examination. These subjects concentrate on a sense of gratitude and being loyal to the king and the Siamese country. In 1914, applicants were required to have 7 qualities, namely honesty, generosity, courage, gratitude, having an intention to support the group and the country, and hardworking. For geographical knowledge, applicants should know Siamese geography, its government and administration, knowledge about the monarchy and the royal family, the structure of Siamese government, ministry, courts, and local administration. And later in 1915, the examination was more or less the same. Prospective students were required knowledge in basic Buddhist ethics and should be a good citizen. For historical knowledge, the school required candidates to know briefly about Siam, including geography, administration, and king. Moving from the entrance policy and examination to the school's teaching. After passing the entrance examination, cadets will instill a sense of loyalty to the king, Buddhism, and the country through classes. There were significant differences in the Siamese cadet school's curriculum between the late 1880s and the 1900s. The former focused on military knowledge, while the latter included ethics and Siamese history, emphasizing on the monarchy. As you can see, in 1887 and 1888, all the subjects were military related. However, the trend shifted in 1907 when ethics or Visha Sanya like Phantprasit and geography was included. From 1907 to the 1910s, according to the cadet school curriculums, both elites and commoners cadets were indoctrinated Buddhism virtues, knowledge about Siamese nation, which was ruled by the monarchy, and general knowledge about the monarchy and history of Siamese kingdom. In ethics class or Buddhism principles, cadets were advised to dedicate themselves for the king and the nation, as well as interests of the great good. Loyalty and being gratitude to the monarch were also taught in the subject, with an explanation that the king provides support and his mercy to cadets. For history and geography classes, the school provides lessons on the Siamese nation. Other information were also included, such as geography, the government and its administration, exports and imports, transportation, and so forth. All these aim to enhance cadets to know about the nation and to realize their duty for Siamese nation and monarchy. Monitoring and controlling for proper behavior was another scheme the school conducted, on the ground that proper behaviors reflect both the cadets and the king's honor. Throughout King Washirawut's reign, 4 military code of conduct were issued, which were in 1912, 1913, 1915, and 1921. A regulation on military code of conduct also stated that military discipline was vital for soldiers who were the king's army, and they required to strictly follow the oath. According to the military code of conduct, commanders were given authority to directly punish their subordinates when they disobey, commit misdemeanors, become drunk, lie, show disrespect to commanders, and petty crimes also included. Moreover, commanders required to teach their subordinates realizing honor and significance of being soldiers. Soldiers must remind themselves that they were to serve and protect the king and the homeland. Additionally, those who commit misbehaviors might be punished without a court trial and be demoted or dismissed immediately if they broke military discipline. Regarding the monarchy-army relationship, Siamese kings usually present themselves as a part of military officer group. From the reign of King Chulalongkorn to King Pattarat Phantprasit, the king attended the school ceremonies, especially an annual ceremony and graduation day. The monarch granted special occasion to students as they were a privileged group who had chances to meet the king and the royal family. With activities and king's speeches, cadets were determined their honor with their position as the king's soldiers. This slide provides examples of royal speeches of King Chulalongkorn and King Washirawut when they attend the Siamese Cadet School ceremonies. On your left-hand side is a royal speech of King Chulalongkorn. King Chulalongkorn honored the cadets by emphasizing that both himself and the cadets were working for the same purpose, to defend the independence of the country. This action encouraged the cadets to perceive themselves prospective commission officers who will serve the king's benefit in the future. On your right-hand side, in the case of King Washirawut, when he visited school, King Washirawut usually placed himself as a part of military officer group and emphasized loyalty to the king, Buddhism, and the nation to all cadets. From speeches of the two kings, it is obvious that honor and loyalty to the king was the absolute aim of cadets to remind themselves and follow the ideology. They repeatedly expressed their concerns in this regard. Here comes the conclusion of this presentation. This work concludes that the Siamese Cadet School play a prominent role as a place to indoctrinate loyalty to the king, Buddhism, and the Siamese nation to its cadets. Moreover, the honor of being military men and the king's order were created and reproduced throughout the 1900s to 1920s. This process began since the first start of the school in 1888, when the cadet school prioritized eligible applicants from the royal family and noblemen. After the admission, new cadets will inculcate Buddhism and loyalty to the monarch through classes and religious practices. They were also monitored and strictly controlled by the school regulations and a system of mentoring. Furthermore, the school created a bond between the cadets and the monarch. The students were implant pride and honor of being the king's men. Such an idea triggered a sense of being a privileged group of the society as an honorable commission officer in the future. And this is all of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question or suggestion, please feel free to ask or advise. Thank you.